It's Frank Klesitz, Crystal Hughes. Say hi, Crystal.
Hi guys.
Kevin Kauffman.
What's going on?
There we go. Kevin, how long you been selling real estate?
Dude, what year is this? This is 2023, right?
Mhm.
I think so.
This makes it 16 year. End of May was 16 years. So I'm working on my 17th year right now.
How many agents have you talked to figure out how to grow a real estate business?
I've lost count. It's in the thousands, dude. So as you know, obviously I have a podcast and that's the way I do it now. But for the
Mhm.
first 12 years, I was interviewing people, but like in the corner at an event, like instead of going into the session at the KW family reunion or whatever, be like, hey, let's go sit over here and get to know each other. And then I would just grill people about their business. I'd get to know what made them successful and stuff. So I've sort of always done that. And then like 5 years ago, I decided to start doing it, but pressing record when I grill people. And so I've lost count. I mean, I think I'm on like 500 episodes on my podcast, maybe 450, and countless, like multiples of that offline for sure.
And you
Which was like
left.
rated number 15 out of like in the countries of all entrepreneur podcasts, right, Kevin?
My mom says it's the best. So that's the only one I know. Like she said it's the number one podcast.
So
So
that's
that's what
all
I'm
that
going with.
matters. Perfect.
Yeah.
I like it.
And what year was it that you pieced out from KW to go to EXP?
Let's see,
When was
that
that?
was June of 18. So just over 5 years ago, almost 5.5 years ago.
Yep. And through all of that, that's even brought you into more agent conversations. And you were
Yeah.
fortunate to get in a little bit on the earlier end before EXP starts taking off.
Yeah. I
So
always
you're
like to
going to,
say EXP years are kind of like dog years. Like, even though it's been around a long time, like it seems like if a year there is like 7 years anywhere else, because it's just either how fast it's grown and how big it's gotten. So yeah, like everybody else, I feel like I didn't get in early enough, and yet it definitely has been a while.
you have a real estate team in Phoenix,
I
Group
do.
4610. How
Yeah.
many agents and how much business is that doing now?
So last count, we just hit 30 agents. I will give a qualifier. Prior to the start of this calendar year, we were at about 15 agents. We had actually really stopped trying to grow the team, like actively prevented people from joining our business for a while. And then we made a big change earlier this year. As you know, Frank, we joined Place with my buddy, my friend Ben Kinney. And with that change was the realization of, if we're going to do this, we should grow again. We should grow this team back out. And we promoted somebody on the team to become the sales manager or director of sales, whatever fancy word you want to use. Effectively, it's his job to go out and recruit, as well as help coach up and train the newer agents. And so he's really got a lot of momentum. We're up over 30 agents now, I think, as of last week. Transactions, nothing special, but I think we're building something really good. And I should
Good.
say, I think Jill and
Right.
Joe, who are the two leaders in our business, are really building something good to go, along with what we've had for a long time.
So you got two sources of income. You have the revenue share from EXP and you have the team money, which gives you in the fortunate position you don't necessarily have to get back into listing and selling homes directly with the client. How many years has it been since you were actually involved in a real estate transaction?
So the truth is, I accidentally took one listing last year for a family member's like friend, or for a friend of a family. I don't know, distant, someone close by. I didn't want to. I did it reluctantly. I was actually trying to talk them out of selling their home. And I did take one listing last year. That said, I really didn't service it. Jill, who's the director of my administrative world, actually did everything minus the appointment that I did. But besides that, that was really the first one I'd taken since 2015. And 2015 is when I drew a line in the sand. I just didn't want my income to be dependent upon me taking listings anymore. And so one
Well,
listing.
you're very fortunate to just have to do one since 2015. So I want to ask you those questions to set this up. You don't necessarily, you weren't back in production. I'm sure you think about it. What would that would look like? I'm sure you give advice on it. And you've talked to pretty much everyone in the industry that's ever sold anything in real estate. We got about 25 minutes here of everyone that wants to know is what would you do? If you
Yeah,
didn't have the team and EXP went poof, and you had to make a living helping people buy or sell houses, what would you do if you had to go back in production? And I just want to take it one step at a time. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 for our time together today.
I've
How's
thought
that?
about, yeah, that's great. Cause I have thought about it a lot, partially because you and I have talked about this numerous times over the years. And I've just literally thought about it. I will say, while I haven't gone out and taken listings, and while I've definitely become more and more detached from our sales team and sales business over the last 5 years, the one thing I haven't totally stepped away from is I still generate business for us, right? So I've got a sphere of influence that brings us deals every single month and always has, and hopefully always will, as long as I keep taking care of them. And so while I wasn't the one to go out and do the deal and go sit in the living room and get the listing paperwork signed or go get the buyer under contract, certainly it was my relationships and my connections that where a lot of those deals come from. Obviously not hundreds and hundreds a year, but a good amount. And so I've always at least generated business for the team through my sphere of influence and past clients, et cetera. Because I did do hundreds, if not, 1,000+ personal transactions before I ever stepped out of production. So kind of knowing that with that as the groundwork, I mean, it's probably not going to be a surprise to anybody, but I know you love the word Mets, right? Because it's easy. We all know it from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the people I already know,
Right.
my sphere of influence. Like that's where what I would do is I would take what I currently do anyways, that's a little more on autopilot and doesn't take more than an hour a month or so for me to execute on, and I would go real deep into that. Like I would go deeper into my plan for being in touch with and servicing my sphere of influence. That would be my very first step. If I was like, hey, the team's gone, all my income outside real estate and outside of real estate's gone, and I've got to go create a new active income. That's where I would start. I would start right there with those folks, the people I know, and I would get real dialed in on what I do every day for those people to generate business for me.
So be more specific about that. Building a
Now,
list. What do you send
yeah.
them?
So first is the building of list. Now, I think that I'm really fortunate in the fact that I built a list. I have a list. I've maintained a list for years. I know that's one of your favorite words, and it's one of my favorite words too. I like to say, sometimes I just like to say list in front of you because you
List.
light up. And so I have maintained my list, and so I have that benefit. Now, if I didn't have the list, I would seriously get to work on building that list or creating that, right? What that looks like for me currently, and what I would call more automated, is already things that are very simple. Like, I mean, your company Vyral does half the work for me, right? Like 2 emails a month, a monthly newsletter, 2 monthly newsletters, video newsletters. That's one thing that I'm going to do. And I learned this from you, Frank, when we were talking about advertising just in general, is I always want to go by land, sea, and air. So I want to be in your email inbox. I
Yeah.
want to be on your social feeds. So retargeting, remarketing type of just reminders that you know me, that I'm your realtor, I'm your guy. If you got a real estate question, call me. You can do that for such low cost on social media, whether that's through actual retargeting, remarketing type of advertising, or just the organic posting and literally using the hustle of your 2 little thumbs, like Gary Vee would say, to go out and make that happen and to build relationships. And then I want to be in your mailbox too. So for me, what mailbox looks like is 2 things. Is about 8 times a year, I want to send a postcard. I use a very simple postcard. It's called
You still
the
use
yeah, because
the
it
world's greatest
works.
postcard. What's it
Yeah.
called?
Yeah, the world's
Yeah,
most
the world's
interesting
most
postcard.
interesting.
Somebody just said to me last week, she's like, I love your postcard. She's been getting them from day one. I've been sending those for like 4 years now. She literally just reminded me again last week about how much she loves these postcards that she gets from me like 8 times a year. And then the other 4 times a year, I want to do something like, it's actually a service you guys offer. Certainly you don't need to use Vyral for it, but like you guys term it a letter from the heart, right? I want to sit down. I'm going to give a tiny bit of like, here's what's going on in the market, but here's what's going on in my life. Like, little Johnny and little Sarah, they went to, kindergarten this year or whatever, right? So I want to do that a few times a year. And that's pretty simple. That's not that hard. And then those are all the things that really don't take much time. Now, when I want to take it a step further, especially if I've got a budget, the next 2 things I'm going to do is I like to send gifts. I prioritize my list into A's, B's, and C's. And my A's, those are the people that don't just do business with me, but they refer me. Like they're going to send me their friends and their family members to do business with me. I'm literally going to send them a gift. Yes, I am not above bribing people. I think Dr. Cialdini's work on the subject of influence is the best to ever been recorded. And so I'm going to invoke the law of reciprocity with the people that already like me, love me, and trust me. And I'm going to just send them a gift once a quarter. Just a small gift. It's nothing huge, but it's more of like just a reminder of like, hey, Frank, I know I'm just your realtor or we're just friend, but like, just as a reminder, I'm thinking about you. Like, my goal is I want you, when you receive that gift from me, to feel just as connected to me as you would if we got to have a cup of coffee that day. So I'm going to do that once a quarter to my most important people. And so for me, that's like a top 25 or top 50 list. At a certain point, you got to draw a line. And you really got to make people earn their way into that because there's a cost associated with that, right?
Mhm.
And then the next thing is, this is so simple: personal connection, phone calls, right? Whether that's 3 a day, 5 a day, or 10 a day, just calling people and getting in front of them, or getting in front of them face to face, just to further the relationship. That's it. That's all you got to. Now, if you just did that, like that's actually enough to have a long career and make pretty good money for as long as you want to work in this business. At least I believe that's my mindset on it.
How many people are on your postcard list?
My postcard list is a few hundred. My
It's not that
gift list,
much.
it's really not, dude. It's like
These are all people
275.
that like refer you buyers and sellers.
Yeah. Otherwise they don't go on the list. Or they've done business with us. So the postcard, like the postcard list, the criteria for that, because we're not talking about a lot of money for mail, right? It's like $1, basically
Mhm.
$1 printed, mailed, like delivered. It's like $1 a person. That's not a big hurdle. So that could be somebody that I've already done business with, or they refer me, or both, whatever. Now, when I'm spending money on a gift once a quarter, like I've got to like really force myself to go, cool, I like Crystal, she's amazing, but is she actually referring me to her friends and family members? And if the answer is no, I just got to know that's okay. I still could build maybe my goal is to get her to that point, but I can't spend the money there right now. Like the best problem to have is to go, should I actually expand that budget? Maybe I should be spending more money because realistically, maybe Crystal's not on that list yet, but she started to refer me people and she's sort of earned her way there. And I don't have anybody to bump off. So cool. I'm going to expand my budget. I'm going to spend more money here.
Great.
That makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Cool.
It's like this depth of wisdom after 16 years of being beat to hell in the business of this is like the final answer of truth. Right, Kevin?
Yeah, dude, it's one of my favorite mentors, if you will. I was fortunate enough to snag him to get him on my podcast a few years ago, and he spent like 4 hours with me over Zoom over the course of 2 days. And this is a guy that literally was taught to play chess by Bobby Fischer, literally. And he was the co-founder of the Princeton Review. Very smart, intelligent man, genius, friends with Warren Buffett. This guy, he's a smart guy is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
He shared a quote with me one time. wouldn't give for the simplicity on the other side. Right. So
Yeah.
hey, it's simple because I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm not sure of how complex everything is. And then you sort of like start to learn something and you realize it's complex. There's a lot of moving parts here. Real estate, there's contracts, there's deadlines, there's people get upset. There's, air conditioners get stolen, roofs got to be replaced. There's
Yeah.
complexity. And then when you actually master it, you realize, oh no, this is actually very simple. But you've got to get past that complexity and on the other side of it. And I think hopefully after 16 years and I don't know, 3,500 or so sales transactions that my team's been a part of, I've been able to just remove the noise, the signal from the noise.
Which leads to the next question. So you work your Mets. There's the answer. Got it?
Yeah.
Then that kind of begs the question. You do have to keep building the database of new people, right?
You do. You got to feed it.
So, you generally have a strategy for buyers and for sellers. I just want to ask you, what would you do to build it? What would you do to try to get the attention of strangers? And there are a gazillion ways you can do that.
I still take that same approach that I referenced earlier, which is by land, sea, and air. So what I'm trying to say is I got to zero in on who I want to meet, how do I want to get my not Mets and try to, so they can become a Met.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, I think there's two obvious ways. There's the internet, there's the new school, there's the old school. I got internet and capture people's information. I've always been a big fan of that. And then there's the people that, I can create an ad. I can do some creative to get people to give me their information. And I learned this from you, I can also go and I can figure out the type of person that would most likely be my customer or would most likely be somebody that I could represent in the sale of their home. And I could target them. I could actually go after them. And the way I would do that first and foremost is through the mail, using the post office as my friend.
No BS. You would really use mail.
Yeah, absolutely. Because not enough people. Here's the deal. I'm not married to the idea of mail. It's not that that's romantic to me. It's that it's effective. Not enough people do. And yes, there's junk in the mailbox, but I would challenge you, Frank, go to your mailbox today, because I know that you don't go every day. So I want you to go to your mailbox today and separate the mail that you were expecting, that it's maybe one piece a week, and then count up all the other pieces of mail that you get that day. Granted, most of it is junk and advertisements and so on, but I dare you to then go to your email box and count how many pieces of junk email you got today. I guarantee you the junk in that email inbox and on your social media feed is 10 or 20 times greater than the amount of junk in your physical mailbox out front. Mine's out front. Maybe, I don't know, maybe yours is on the side or at the end of the road in your community. And so I think, yes, we're still competing because there's junk, but it's just like, it's more of a blue ocean in a mailbox than it is in an email inbox or in a social media feed, right? And so, yeah, to me, mail is rather obvious.
Who would you mail?
Well, this is the part where I call you. This is here's the deal. Here's the benefit I have, though, because I've spent the time talking to people. You mentioned that when we first started. I've spent the time talking to people and going, who's great at what? I talk to people that are great at things that they do. I try to figure out, everyone's great at something. So I try to figure that out. And I mean, I could give you an idea. The simplest term is the people that would be most likely in a most likely scenario to want to sell their home. Now, how do we get there? There's a lot of different ways. I happen to know that you sit around and think about this stuff all the time. So you're my first call, dude. I'm not just saying that because this is your webinar. I'm saying that because you're my first call. If I thought somebody did it better than you, I would call them first and call you second. But
that'd be so.
But you do it. This is your specialty, and so I'd call you and I'd say, "Here's what I'm thinking. or a neighborhood that I want to do this in. But what I don't think is the right thing to do is I want to take a sniper approach. I don't want to take the shotgun approach, right?
Mhm.
So I don't want to spray a whole neighborhood or zip code. That would be maybe the next strategy down. But when we're talking about dialing back into production to make sure I got my financial numbers met by my actual production, I want to be more sniper-like and go, Frank, here's what I'm thinking. Here's who I want to target. Am I off base? And then more importantly, dude, which system should I be using? You know, should it be this? Should I be using Remind? Should I use something else to go pull my data to actually help to find these people that would be likely sellers or potential sellers at some point in the near future for me? And I'd write them a letter.
Let's pull a
Think-
list.
You want to pull one right now? Look at this.
Do it.
See, this is a website I've never even heard of, and you are on it already, this is exactly why you're my first call, because you think of stuff like
Correct.
this. I would never
Maricopa-
think of something.
Maricopa County, single family homeowner that, based upon their web searches, iPhone location, credit card transaction history, has a significant life change where they're going to have to sell. On a scale of 1 to 20, we're going to the top 10% likely to sell. This is the same stuff the hedge funds and insurance company use. This is the source. These are all the zip codes. What zip code do you want?
You know, how about 85266?
250. You want that list?
I want that list.
That's the list.
Those are the people I'm going to mail.
That's the list.
That's my list. That's where I'm going to start.
So that's going to be your behavior data.
Perfect.
So that's
Mhm.
going to be your consumer. What are they buying? What are they doing? What are they searching? Like probabilities. Then you have your typical distressed. This is prop stream.
Brilliant.
Oh, this is like paradise. This is way up there, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty far north.
Yeah, you're way up there.
Hey, you asked me, this is me going back into production. If I'm going to take the time to sell someone's house, I
There's
want to get paid extra.
545 old expireds. I would absolutely put them on there.
Yeah.
In addition to the
$1 million
likely to
homes.
sell. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think would be the next one? You think? I love failed listings. Of this list, what do you think would be next?
Didn't sell.
Of the failed listings, like, you know, I think you already mentioned people in distress, right?
Well, these are all distressed, but like, I mean,
okay.
liens,
Vacant.
bankruptcy, divorce. I mean, do you have any good pre-probate? Probably absentees.
Absentees would be
That's a
would
big
be a
one.
good one. Just because
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people get into real estate investment because they think it's easy and or they were forced into it because of like a move, and then it kind of wears on them over time, and they actually don't really enjoy being a landlord. So I think that's another niche. I might need to go more than one zip code for that to be able to get enough to snipe, you know, to make my
Agreed.
mailer worthwhile. That said, that's also another target. In fact, I bought the first house I ever bought was the listing agent happened to also be that's how he actually got the listings. He went after absentee sellers in this one particular condo community, and I turned out to be friends with him later on, actually, after I got into real estate and found out more about that condo. And it's the same thing. So yeah, people don't,
Yeah.
not everybody that isn't a quote unquote investor or landlord really wants to be. And so sometimes you can just help those people out.
It works. Yeah.
What would you say in the letter?
You know, I believe, first of all, for me, it wouldn't be one letter. It would be a series of letters. I don't think I'm going to just hit them once and expect that it's going to give me a great return. Although I think if I do it well enough, I'm going to get a certain amount of interest. That said, I'd probably have a series of letters that starts off with something like an offer. Maybe there's a cash offer situation. A letter would probably have some sort of messaging around, okay, if you don't want an offer, a cash offer, are you interested in acquiring more yourself? Just to maybe literally go the opposite way. Like, let me take this off your hands. I'm like, oh, you don't want me to take it off your hands? Let me hand you more because I've got other people that have houses. So would you like more? Maybe I'd go something like that where I reverse on them and see if I get a little more interest. And then I'd probably go into more of, I'll call it traditional. I've got Susie and Joe, homeowner or wannabe homeowner, want to buy your house. And I think you might be a really great fit for them or one of my other clients, something along those lines. But I'd hit them with a series of letters. I might mix in postcards over there after a while too. But like anything else, if I'm trying to move these people from a not met to a met, I might need to take some time here and really start to build a relationship with these people, even though it's gonna be through their inbox. And if I can get you to do the thing that you do, which is get all the information on them, now I can start hunting them down online too.
Blood
And just,
type.
yeah, I could just make them feel like
Mhm.
I'm everywhere. Like they just can't, they
Get
just can't
enough of
escape
you.
me.
Yeah.
I'm doing some letters personally in Salt Lake City. It's a difficult market to mail in. And we've tried and it works. I have a buyer for your home, call me. But the one that really pulled was fix and list. And
Ooh,
it was affluent, like $1 million houses that people have owned for a while. They're already like, I'm out of this, right? But the house is a little dated or damaged. So we went in there as like, hey, you're thinking about selling, you own the home for 10 or more years, which that's what I'm mailing, and you want to get it updated by our preferences. We'll remodel the whole thing at our cost and then sell it, and you'll be able to sell it for a much higher price if you bring it up to current buyer preferences. Call us and we'll give you a remodeling quote.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
It is.
I'll give you guys the messaging for that.
That is a really great
So hot.
message.
So I would,
Mhm.
if you are going to go into that zip code, I don't think like cash buyers and work in the ritzy part of town as much.
Correct.
Fix and list.
Yeah.
Here's the here you go.
Oh yeah, I saw Steve post about this recently.
Yeah. You do the work, but I can sell your home for 15 to 20% more. I got the contractors, net top dollar. I have the licensed team. We'll fix this baby up before and after, and we'll give you a whole bunch of equity back to you. And you command like 7-8%.
I
So
love it.
it's very profitable. The
Yeah.
holy grail, I've done this, is the contractors and subs are paid at close
It's even better.
Yeah.
with lien releases.
Curbio does that too.
So start there and you work your way backwards from that. That's the best. Where all you have to do is just front the cost of the actual materials.
I love
Everyone else
that.
gets paid at close. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well, I think
great.
we
See,
answered. Yeah.
that's why I call you, dude, because you would know that you've actually tested more letters and more
Well,
offers.
thank the client that put the money out that I now know the information.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's a partnership with you and them,
It is.
right? I
Yeah.
know
That's
you do.
right.
I know you, but that's the thing is like whether you were actually doing that for some clients or not, or for yourself and your investment business over the years, or just all the different mailers that you've been a part of, like you know that. That's why I call you.
Mhm.
So one of the big things in the industry, just for what it's worth, is do you give the lead to the agent, or do you set the appointment for the agent?
Yeah.
What do you think, Kevin? Do you set the appointment for the agent and take a larger split and pay the agent less? Or do you just give the agent the raw lead and pay him more?
I think it
What would you do?
depends. I know what I would do. I would give them the raw lead because I want to be further away from having to control anything. But if I was like, hey, I want to be able to control more of it, have a higher close percentage and take home more money, then I'm handing out an appointment, not a lead. And there's not a right or wrong answer, in my opinion. It's a what's right or wrong
Yeah.
for you,
Agreed.
or in my case, for me, right?
In the past 7 days, 1,000 inbound phone calls.
From mailer
Dude.
letters. It's a lot.
That's
So
fantastic.
I gotta break
It
that down.
is.
There's some other stuff in there, but like, is that crazy?
Yeah.
These are people calling, I want to sell my house.
It works.
And then you add them to your database.
That's what realtors want, right? People raising their hands saying, I'm interested in selling my home
Mhm.
Yeah.
And calling him.
and calling you directly.
What else, Kevin? What else? Let's open up for some questions. I know we're at our 30-minute limit. Daryl, Greg, Natasha, Ozzy, Brian, Bob. What's up, Bob? What do you guys want to ask Kevin? Is this literally your plan, Kevin? I did not prep you on this, except we wanted to kind of take it in the direction of Mets and Habit Mets.
The only other plan I would do, and it's because I'm a believer in like do one thing and then add the next and then add the next. Let's just say I got this part dialed and I was actually really great at this. My next part is I would just incorporate more of a video strategy. That's it. I wouldn't do anything else. There's no reason to do anything else. I would just do these three things. I would, my sphere, my not Mets, and then I would increase my not Met strategy from the mail and from the ads to using more of a video strategy as well, trying to create content for these people. And that's it. There's nothing else, because here's the deal. There's probably 100 other things I could add to it, but why? What's the point of, I'd rather go a mile deep and an inch wide than, you know what I mean? Than a mile wide and an inch deep. Like just go deep on the 2 or 3 things you're willing to do every day.
Thanks, buddy. So I'm Frank, Vyral Marketing. Crystal is a sales coach. So we help converting all
guys.
the leads. Yeah. Tell everyone what we do, Crystal.
Well, you and I kind of come up with your brilliant geniusness of this like listing freedom blueprint, right? And so then what do you do when you have all these leads? So to Kevin's point, do you hand them off and set the appointment? Or so I help coach the inside sales agents and or the appointment setters. What do we do when these calls are coming in? And ultimately what that's doing is it protects your brand. What are they saying? And how do they set up the process? And it's a 2-step process to go out, take photos, and set the actual appointment. And so I help coach that. So if you have a sales manager that helps run your team, I do daily meetings for an hour, and I help ensure that the process, the system, your agents are trained up. Like Kevin, for example, he's out of production. So he could have myself, the idea of the listing freedom is to be able to allow you to step back and someone else manage those calls and the listings for you smoothly, because ultimately that can help you be on the road, do what you want, and allow this to and eventually to build, and eventually you can maybe sell it and set up for retirement and you have this book of business of listings.
Yeah, if you get the database marketing in place, where you're focused on that as the marketer of what you do as opposed to doer, and then you can maybe get your letters or some type of habit met strategy going in place where you have calls and leads, people possibly interested in selling, and you hire an appointment setter. They have the capital for it, right? To set the appointment for the agent. That's the strategy I like to follow. But
And Kevin, you had asked
way.
about systems, right? Like to call Frank and say, what systems do you use? And we help with that too. What systems do you need? How do you put those in place? So I helped with those agents that he was talking about to put it into place and learned the inside outs of it. So it is really genius.
Yeah, that's the other thing we can't really cover in 30 minutes is,
Right.
great, let's say this is all successful. What do we do? Like, because now I'm spending part of my day generating this business, but now I've got to convert this business too, right? Whether I'm, you know, in the scenario that we talked about, it's me going back into production, but whether I'm me going back into production or I've already got a team or I'm at some other point in my journey, like no matter what, somebody, like some things have to happen. If you're actually successful in generating the lead, there's other things that have to occur, and you may or may not be able to do it all yourself. And if you already have a team or you're in the process of building team or whatever, then like getting that stuff dialed in is important. Like if you're going to spend the money on it, you got to do it right.
Correct.
Kevin, thank you for your time.
You got it, man.
Let you
It's
guys
good
get
to
out of
see
here.
you guys.
Promise the 30 minutes. Later, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.